Airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
This is Duck Insider.
Duck's gonna pick it up, and here we go. Chuck, how about that? Score. How about that? Oregon repeats as the Pac-12 champion.
Omarui for three. Yes! Oh, and a steal and slam for Williams. Duarte to the basket. The slam. For the third time in the last 5 years, the Ducks are Pac-12 champions. Outright champ.
Holy three. Goal! Holy ball. Left wing. Pow. Yeah, boom, boom. Regular season champions, and now Pac-12 tournament champions.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
We're just getting started.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. Presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
Thank you, and a very, very happy, Wednesday to everybody? I can't even keep track anymore. Has everybody gotten that way where, you're working from home and we're all kind of just at least in the sports landscape, figuring out the schedule on a day-to-day basis, and so it's like, it's Wednesday. For me nowadays, it seems like it's not game day, or it's game day, or it's I only know that it's a Tuesday sometimes because we do a tip-off Tuesday show. Does everybody else feel that way? Am I the only one? Maybe I'm the only one, but I don't know. I don't know if that's been the case or not. We do have a lot of things to tell you about today, though. Let's begin with, unfortunately, for Oregon men's basketball, we know that tomorrow will not be a game day, and we know that Saturday will not be a game day. As the Ducks announcing yesterday that the men's basketball program has gone on a pause due to COVID-related protocols and the COVID protocols that are in place. These, of course, were approved by the conference and the school and the coaches working with Lane County Public Health, working with the University of Oregon. And now we just all hope that everybody on the men's basketball team is healthy and they can get back to competition when it's safe to do so. But that is the news coming from yesterday, and if you're just joining us today, that means that there's some repercussions, obviously, around the athletic department and some repercussions for Oregon men's basketball. The Arizona State and Arizona games that were scheduled for Thursday and Saturday are officially postponed. Dates of makeup games, we don't know yet. There's a lot of different moving pieces across the conference, and so the Ducks and the Sun Devils and the Wildcats will try to figure that out and piece it together. Now, as we sit here today on Wednesday the 13th, Tuesday's game on the 19th against UCLA is still on the schedule. Now, obviously, we all know that could change following COVID protocols, but that game is still on the schedule for 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I will say, though, that if we end up not having a basketball game that day, our plan is to have a Duck Insider, and we will still have a Tip-Off Tuesday Oregon basketball coaches show. It's just, as you could imagine, probably going to be a lot more focused on women's basketball than it is on men's basketball, with the Ducks hitting pause, at least for right now. That's the bad news of the day. The good news of the day is Rob Moseley is going to join us, the GoDucks.com editor-in-chief. We've yet to talk with him since football season ended, and I want to go really in-depth with Rob on that subject and on a few other subjects. And also, speaking of Tip-Off Tuesday, Kelly Graves, he talked with Terry Johns, the lone interview, actually, that Coach Graves did this week, with everything moving up because women's basketball plays tomorrow. 4 o'clock on ESPN, a top 11 matchup between the Ducks and the Wildcats. Terry Johns and Bev Smith with a 3:30 pregame show for you. They'll have that here on the Oregon Sports Network. And that's going to be a really, really engaging game. It's a national audience. It's two great programs. There's a lot to look forward to for that 4 o'clock game. So if you had a 3 o'clock meeting on a Thursday, or if you had a 4 o'clock meeting on a Thursday, then I think it's time to reschedule that meeting. If you don't have a meeting at 4 o'clock on Thursday, tomorrow, then it's time to go into your calendar and just type in meeting with Arizona. Because that's what it is. You're meeting with Arizona. If you're a Duck fan, you're meeting with Arizona at 4:00 on a Thursday. Put that in the work calendar tomorrow, right? It's already in Scott Phillips and I's calendar. It's probably in Moses' calendar when we talk to him coming up in a little while. So, it's like, again, we've talked about this before. It's like getting the doctor's note from the Ducks or whatever you need to do. So put it in the work calendar. I think we all are on the same page. Tahina Pau as well. We'll hear from her on the show today. Terry Johns with a great interview with Tahina. Maybe you've seen it on the Oregon women's basketball social media by now. But Tahina Pau, getting to know her, it's a good time. Encourage you to tune in and listen to that coming up. And if you ever want to listen on demand, of course, subscribe to the Oregon Sports Network podcast. So there's the update on Oregon basketball, what we're going to do today. And how about Bol making his first career start last night? For the Nuggets, kind of surprisingly made his first career start. But he did some good things in 16 minutes, scored 5 points, couple of rebounds for the 21-year-old. Bol is such a fascinating prospect. And I loved seeing all of NBA Twitter tweeting about how it was a league pass alert that Bol was starting. That was cool to see yesterday. So he joins the ranks of pro Ducks at the NBA level, making their first career starts. And you've got guys like Troy Brown Jr., Chris Boucher, Dylan Brooks, and, of course, Peyton Pritchard. Others continuing to do some amazing things at the NBA level, and it's just been really, really cool to see. As we switch gears now and talk a little bit about football, the plan ahead now, as a lot of the guys have gone home, classes are still being taught remotely here at the University of Oregon. So for Oregon football, the Ducks, as the coaching staff, has been off the last couple weeks as well, and they gear up toward National Signing Day coming up on February 3rd, the first Wednesday of February. That means that everybody's, I think, getting their rest that they all deserve right now. Now, that being said, though, Oregon football, the offseason conditioning program going to get going, and, of course, if you know the Ducks, then you know that they're going to get after it with that offseason conditioning program, no doubt about that. But some way too early top 25s have already come out. And, I look at these, and it gives you an idea, I think, of what the national perspective is, not just for Oregon, but for the Pac-12 and where things sit. And, of course, with Monday being the official end to the college football season with Alabama winning the title, now everybody wonders, okay, what's the recruiting class going to look like around the country? What are the recruiting rankings going to be around the country? And then it's going to be, what's the non-conference schedule look like? And we're all hoping that things are a little more normal in a football season when we get to football in August and September. Now, many of you probably have kept track of some of these things like I have, but in the ESPN rankings, Oregon was number 13 in those way too early top 25s, joined in the top 25s by USC and Washington in those way too early rankings. And in the sporting news, Ducks were at number 20, USC was at 13. CBS Sports, that's Dennis Dodd, USC was 14, Oregon 17. Stadium rankings with Brett McMurphy, Oregon was 12. Then they also had Washington, Arizona State, and USC joining the Ducks in the top 25. 24/7 Sports rankings, that's like a compilation, if you will, of a bunch of different rankings. USC was tied for 12th, Oregon was 14th, and Arizona State 20th, and Washington also in there at 23. The Athletic had the Ducks as number 12, and then John Wilner, who covers the Pac-12 for the Mercury News, he had the Ducks at number 20, with Washington at 14, Arizona State at 17, and USC at 23. So you'll notice that Oregon and USC show up in all of those way too early top 25s. The others being ASU, Washington, and a couple other peaks around tell you that there's some respect for ASU and Washington, but really it's Oregon and USC. The two teams that played for the conference title this past year, of course, Oregon winning it in back-to-back seasons. But the way too early top 25 rankings are usually, to me, about a few things. One, it often is the blue blood programs, the programs that come to mind first when writers, media members start to look through conferences and they go, oh, well, that was a pretty good recruiting class that such and such brought in. They're a blue blood to put them in the top 25. But I think it has a lot to do with who's returning on your roster as well. And the Ducks have a significant portion of their roster coming back. That's one of the many things that we're going to talk about with one Rob Moseley, who happens to be sitting atop a butte in wonderful, let's see, so that's the I don't know exactly which butte you're sitting on, Rob. Maybe you're sitting on a drone somewhere. Is that an appropriate take for your backdrop today? Uh-oh. Well, we can't hear Rob. So, we're going to get a timeout and come back, and then we'll ask him what drone he's on and which internet connection has gone out. Back after this, Rob Moseley, the editor-in-chief of GoDucks.com, is our guest after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Hi, welcome to the Spicy Drive-In. May I take your order?
Can I get the spicy chicken sandwich, please?
The spicy chicken is an excellent choice, sir. And to drink?
Whatever's fine.
Oh, may I make a beverage pairing recommendation this evening?
Sure.
If we are feeling especially bold tonight, sir, I would recommend the Mountain Dew with that. It's bravely unrestrained with a very alive aroma that pairs wonderfully with your spicy chicken. It's followed by a hint of zesty citrus flavor.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
I'm sure you already know this, sir, but remember to appreciate the nose first by giving the Mountain Dew a little swirl to relieve volatilize it.
What?
To change the flavor compounds and activate your taste buds to get them fully primed for that chicken sandwich.
Ah, it's delicious.
Now you're getting the hang of it. The muscular flavor-charged characteristics of Mountain Dew make for an absolutely epic mouthfeel when paired with spicy cuisine. It is quite on point, sir.
Dude, it's a perfect match. Like they were made for each other.
So true, so true.
When you want to make good food bolder and bold food better, do the Dew.
Your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider from Learfield IMG College.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Hundo P. Hundo P. Adjective. Short for being 100% sure or certain. As in, if we get a puppy, I'll Hundo P always walk it.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We're back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack with you in the Country Financial Studio. And now we can hear one Robert Moseley. He is joining us. So in all seriousness, it's a virtual backdrop, but this is the world that we live in. Rob, do you know where that picture was taken from? Because I can see the old Autzen scoreboard. You probably are sitting on like a tall light post somewhere in downtown. Also, hello to Rob's dog Parker as well.
Yeah, you can hear Parker. Yeah, he's keeping me safe. So you don't want me threatened by any intruders while this segment's going on. So he's handling it. I guess it's possible it's from Skinner Butte.
Could be.
But yeah, I don't know for sure. I think our buddy Biggie, the photographer extraordinaire, took this, and I just swiped it from him.
Fair enough. Well, if there's a I would venture to say that about 90% of the photos that people use as their desktop backgrounds that are duck-oriented, Eric Evans probably took them, right, Rob?
Totally, because he's the man and he gets good shots.
No offense, though, to Rob's photography, because in his practice reports on GoDucks.com, they look amazing. So,
unless we're in the mo, my ability to get a quality photo in the Michovsky Center, which is a little dim, the lighting's not great, so it does present some challenges, but I am unequipped to tackle those challenges, so I hope I'm not judged too harshly by those.
Do you hear about that from fans?
No. People are nicer than that. But like, my Brielle, my girlfriend, who is a better photographer than I, particularly when it comes to the technology of the craft, is rightfully judgmental.
Okay.
And yeah.
Fair enough.
It's a sticking point with me because I want to do things better, and every once in a while I post one that I'm like, that's not worthy of being on our website.
Rob, you're a perfectionist, dare I say?
Well, not in all aspects of my life, but maybe in that one.
He's the editor-in-chief of GoDucks.com, on Twitter at GoDucksMoseley, at DuckFootball. Rob, I haven't talked to you on the show since football season wrapped up. I'm just going to give you like a 2-minute open floor here. What are you going to remember the most about what was an unprecedented football season with 3 different schedules and so many different challenges? What are you going to remember most from this last year?
Well, there's all the obvious and there's all the strange circumstances, but I think when you look back on this season, you will have to start with the fact that Oregon was the Pac-12 champs, and there will be caveats to that, and certainly some other programs who will vociferously give voice to those caveats. But at the end of the day,
wait. SAT word with Rob Moseley. Define vociferously.
Aggressively, verbosely, loudly. Yeah.
Okay, please continue.
They'll go to great lengths to protest the fact that there were strange circumstances and maybe asterisks. But when you win a Pac-12 title, that's what goes down in history. And this, so this will be remembered as a team that repeated as Pac-12 champs. And that performance against USC spoke for itself. I mean, it was a command performance, particularly defensively, answering those questions. But beyond that, I think it's the kind of if there were a few bubbles around the team, I wasn't in the smallest bubble, but I was in one of those bubbles. And just to see all the protocols that had to be in place all the time, and they hung over everyone's heads constantly. And so to try to go through a season with that hanging constantly over your head, that added pressure with all the other pressures that are just typical of a college football season, and to deal with that and to get through it and to win a conference title, to go to a New Year's Six bowl game was really something. On the other side of the coin, the frustrations of this season, wondering, had a Panay Sewell, a Javon Holland, certainly understand those guys' decisions to opt out. But what was this team's potential at full strength in a full season? We'll never know, and that'll always be a sticking point. And also the fact that it never kind of felt like everything was in sync. The offense started out the year so well, and was just really in rhythm right off the bat, which was good news because the defense took some adjusting to the absence of, I think, particularly of those guys on the back end and some of the young players who had to be counted on and needed to get up to speed. And then as the defense finds its rhythm and starts to click at mid-season, suddenly the offense loses its rhythm. And so there was just never a point when everything seemed to be going right for the Oregon football team in 2020. And so for all that did go right, that'll be a frustration too. I think there'll always be a question about kind of what this team's potential was. We knew what the preseason expectations were pre-pandemic. And I think we'll always wonder, nothing took place that said, no, that team couldn't have been that good. Nothing took place that says, no, that was not a playoff team had everything been normal. But everything wasn't normal, and it wasn't a playoff team. And so that's the reality too. So we'll always kind of, that'll always be something we'll wonder about this group, what might've been.
This is certainly one of the youngest teams Oregon has had. It was the youngest team in the country if you look at percentage of underclassmen, as we've talked about a lot, Rob. I know you've talked about it. I've talked about it. Everybody talks about it at this point. Yeah. Coaches aren't going to use that as an excuse, but I think it is an important thing that at least I'll remember in this year that at times I thought Oregon looked like a young team. Did you feel that way too?
Yeah, I think that's fair. In college athletics, I think you increasingly rely on young talent, and the young talent this team has recruited the last couple of years, combined with the guys, some offensive linemen, Justin Herbert, Troy Dye, who might have left before their senior year but chose to come back. So you had an exceptionally veteran team in 2019, and then an exceptionally young team in 2020. But there's a difference between an excuse and an explanation. And Oregon's youth was an explanation for some of the things it went through, but it's certainly not an excuse. You got to be ready to overcome any hurdles that are in your way, and youth being one of those. So it might explain some things. It certainly doesn't excuse things. And perhaps in a normal off season, some of that youth gets up to speed quicker, better, whatever, and things click. There's more consistency there. But it does provide some promise too about what the future holds. There's no doubt about that.
Codex.com editor-in-chief Rob Moseley with us via the University of Oregon Alumni Association guest line. Rob's probably a member of the University of Oregon Alumni Association, actually, as a Duck graduate himself. He's nodding in approval as I can see him on my TV. I don't know if Rob can see himself on this TV with the way our cameras are set up, but
I can see me, but I can't see you. So you could be making horrible faces.
Oh, nice.
Holding up signs, telling people what an idiot I am while I'm speaking, and I would not see. So the things you can get away with right now are many, and I would never know.
Wow. Except that, there's a live recording and a stream that you could go back and find. I promise I'm not doing any of that. Rob Moseley, our guest. You touched on this a little bit, Rob, just with how the practice protocols were different. Can you just give us like the 60-second Cliff Notes version of how practice was so different this year compared to any other practice and year you've ever covered?
Yeah, I just think, the number of bodies, it just felt like less people were involved. And, and I don't know the exact details of who numbers and, where if people weren't coming by that usually did. There's always a handful of observers, alums of the program. There'd always be a handful of people watching a practice and, that weren't on hand. There were practice periods in the recent past where media was invited in to watch for 10 or 15 or 20 minutes. Those went away. So you really did feel like there was, and I staff members would poke their heads in, as they were coming or going to the parking lot and watch from time to time for 5 or 10 minutes. That didn't happen. So it really did feel like, it was just, it was a bubble, and it was the same people in that bubble, and it was less people than normal. And maybe in some ways that's a good thing. It helps you with focus. But I think there's something to be said too for being able to execute and perform under those conditions too, and kind of block things out too. So it was just a strange year, and knowing that, guys had to make time prior to practice, for testing windows, the offense had being tested, the defense had been in meetings, and they'd kind of switch, and that was a couple-hour process. So it's just one more thing for the players to have to deal with. It was one more thing for the medical staff to have to deal with in their already busy days. So for me personally, I try to avoid interactions with players. One of my favorite things about practice is just to be kind of on the sideline doing my job. But, every once in a while, as I'm kind of circling the field, getting different perspectives, you find yourself, amidst a group of guys, and, you might joke around, you develop rapport that way, relationships that way. And I had to try to avoid situations like that, intermingling with guys. So
you're a social guy, Rob.
Totally, 100%. And those interactions are priceless, and they're so fun, and they're helpful too to provide fans insights about the teams and the players and their personalities. But I would try to get there after everybody was already starting to stretch, that I didn't intermingle while guys were coming and going. I try to leave before guys left. So a lot of times, a lot of times in the past, I'd stay to hear what Coach Cristobal or whoever else had to say to the team after practice. I'd usually leave during that period, so there was no chance that I'd get caught in a group of players coming or going and get in too close a contact that way. So it was I don't mean to play a sad violin for myself. I still was able to be there and enjoy that and pass along what I could see. And do the job that way, but it wasn't the same for me, just like it wasn't the same for anyone else.
Yeah, very different. Everything feels different. Still does. I feel like Rob and I were talking about this even just a little bit during the break. Like, this is probably the least I know of the men's basketball team since I've been around, because I haven't been around the guys as much. That's just the situation that we're in. Now, speaking of that, Rob, as Rob Moseley joins us, editor-in-chief, Goducks.com. Looking toward the future, and now we all hope that everything's a little bit more back to normal here come fall camp, come kickoff in September. But there's obviously a lot of things that are beyond everybody's control, beyond the team's control, no doubt about that, and around really the entire world. As you look, though, toward the offseason and now toward this 2021 schedule as it stands now, what sticks out to you? What are you going to be kind of tracking in the offseason as we head toward kickoff next year?
I just think the big question right now is, there's two, from an internal standpoint, presumably guys are going to start coming back to town. Mario Cristobal gave them a couple weeks off after the bowl game to go home because it had been so long since the full team could go home, spend some time with family. Classes are still virtual right now, so you can attend your classes that way. You don't have to be in town. So, presumably guys will start coming back to town in the next week or so. Can they feel like a sense of normalcy as they're going through an off-season program? All the protocols that were in place that allowed for workouts for practice in the fall, that took place when football was the only sport being played. Well, now there's all these other sports that want to get back to competing and practicing, and there's only so much time in the day and so many resources, in terms of medical staff for, we have to make sure, the acrobatics and tumbling program, is, abiding by a testing protocol that allows them to practice and to compete. And all these other teams, basketball teams, are going through it now. So what are the protocols that allow for any sort of a normal football off season? I haven't had any discussions, so I don't mean to cast doubt on anything. I just don't know. I just don't know how that's going to look. So how much of a normal off-season strength and conditioning program can the football program have, and how much of a normal spring practice schedule can they have? You hope it's as close to normal as possible under the conditions. And then the other big thing is just kind of watching the vaccine rollout nationally, presuming that vaccination is the fastest path back to normalcy. And what I think we all want is for 2021 to look normal. And so as we get closer to June, July, August, just what kind of schedule are we on locally and nationally to allow for Autzen Stadium to be rocking come the fall? Because I think, all of us want that. All of us want normal Saturdays in Autzen this fall. If vaccines are the best way to get back to that, then let's get rolling with that. And let's get everybody vaccinated as soon as possible and as efficiently as possible, and as widely as possible so that happens.
I'm in.
Sign me up.
Yeah, I'm in. I'll be there, whatever it takes to have Autzen full again. I think that we all feel that way. Finally, Rob, I could have asked you about 50,000 other things, but I know you actually have a job to do, so I'll keep it brief. Mighty Oregon podcast, Rob. I mean, you got to tell us and give fans the perspective for those who have missed it. I've been talking about it on the show. Some of your favorite conversations that you've had so far, and what do you have in store in the Mighty Oregon podcast?
Yeah, it's really been fun. When I first took this job, one of the things I thought it was going to be an opportunity to do was, really get to know student athletes, coaches, staff members on a deeper level, and then, give our fans insight into that. And what I've unfortunately found, good news, bad news is Oregon athletics is really good in a lot of different things. But what that means for guys like you and me is we get pulled a lot of different directions. There's a lot of bases to cover. And so because we are, covering athletics broadly, it doesn't allow for some of the depth that, we might like to get into on
1,000%.
Specific subjects. And the Mighty Oregon podcast has allowed for some of the depth of storytelling that, has been hard. And part of that is because the team at Sport and Story that's helping produce them is just phenomenal and just does such a great job. I mean, anytime people says they enjoy them, I say that's who deserves the credit, because I've got the easy part. I just talked to this person who I probably already have a relationship with anyway. That's pretty easy. Rely on, the kind of institutional knowledge I have, but the stories are really brought to life by those guys and they just do a great job. But, to do some of the storytelling we've done and to talk to Kenny Wheaton about what, the tragedy of losing his brother, 20 some odd years ago, how much that still hangs over his head, but how important Oregon fans have been in helping him cope with that tragedy and to help lift him up and to provide some emotional support for him was just awesome. Just the one this week, Kelly Graves, just, we all know how fun and engaging he is and how much he shared that and how he shared why that's a value he has and where he learned that and some of the coaches that he came up with and who helped impart that upon him. Has just been really, really fun to get to know Peyton Pritchard better. Our men's basketball team, to its credit, their theme is always us. They're always talking about team, and what that means is sometimes they don't want anybody to get elevated above the group, and that's certainly a dynamic that has paid enormous dividends for them. But what it means is I didn't know Peyton Pritchard as well as I knew anybody else, even though he was kind of the star player last year. So to sit down with him and really figure out what makes him tick was really, really fun. And then, to have him talk prior to the start of the regular season about his work ethic and why that makes him great. And then to see what he's doing as a rookie, you say, oh, okay. I learned from that conversation some of the things that are making him have this success. So hopefully it's insights like that people can get out of this, that kind of in our everyday coverage, it's harder to hit on because we're just scrambling to cover so many things. Oregon's great at so many things. I think our men's golf coach, Casey Martin, is coming up next week. I had a great conversation with him, kind of, with the benefit of time, looking back on the things he went through, the fight to use a cart because of the situation with his leg. But talking to him too, about where, his game, how it developed over the years, how he developed as a coach over the years. And, looking back on playing at Stanford with Tiger and looking back on the 2016 national championship season here was great. I just talked to Joey Harrington last night. That was another fun conversation. So that's another one coming up the pipe too. But a lot of bases we want to cover. There's, a lot of a rich history here and we want to plumb it all. So it's just a matter of how much time do we have, and there's only so many hours in a day to produce these great stories, but there's a wealth of stories out there that we're looking forward to telling.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I think podcasts and radio have a symbiotic relationship, and it's something that I've often thought about and we think about on the show a lot, that we can do long form interviews, but it's a different medium to some extent, and I totally agree with everything you said, Rob, that I'm guilty of it too. I get lost in the day-to-day of what's coming up next. We do that every day on Duck Insider, and it's nice to be able to pause and tell some of these stories. Like, for example, we've got about a 30-minute interview with Peter Schmock that we have yet to air. Former Olympian for the Ducks, went through a ton. He looks like a Jedi Master when you talk to him. That's a great interview that we have. I mean, I love these longer form interviews, Rob, so I'm so glad that you guys are doing it and that it's been a lot of fun. Well, I kept you longer than I said I would. My apologies. We'll have to do this again next week, buddy.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm happy to get back into a rhythm. Any sense of normalcy these days is most welcome.
Well, Wednesday at 1:10 was the regular Rob Moseley slot. I mean, so
it just feels right. It just feels right.
Okay, then Rob, you're gonna get an email from me here in the next hour. I appreciate your time, sir.
No problem at all. It just means I'll get my weekly shave in on Wednesdays.
The mask, Rob. You don't have to shave. The mask. Rob Moseley, editor-in-chief, GoDucks.com. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Yep. Have a good one.
Oh, man. That was great. I actually still have, 5 other things on my bullet points to ask Rob. And so we'll have to do that. If you've missed the Mighty Oregon podcast, though, subscribe on the podcast service of your choice, similar to the Oregon Sports Network podcast. That's something Scott and I have talked about this a lot, that we podcast the show, but the show is meant to be your daily take on everything that's going on. And when we didn't have sporting events, our approach on the show was very similar to what Rob's doing with the Mighty Oregon podcast. It was, all right, we can tell these really awesome stories from a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different people. And we were able to do that over the course of a few months. We could really go in depth on everything that was going on, and some pro Ducks and some former Ducks, like our Bring 'em Back campaign presented by QSL. We're going to continue with that moving forward. I think pausing sometimes and not just worrying about what's next in the day-to-day in Oregon athletics is important, because there are so many great stories, and there's so many former Ducks that we can talk with and tell their stories that deserve being told. For example, tomorrow afternoon, Scott and I are recording an interview with Victoria Lindsay. She was Victoria Brown, her maiden name, a female that competed on the men's rowing team at the University of Oregon. What a story that's going to be. We're doing that interview tomorrow, and we'll have it for you on the show in the coming weeks. All right, quick time out. We're way behind. When we come back, we're going to hear from Kelly Graves on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics, because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
I'm probably okay to have one more drink before I drive home. I'm probably okay. I open the window to stay alert. Probably okay. I just popped some gum in my mouth.
Step out of the car, please.
I probably made a mistake.
Probably okay isn't okay when it comes to drinking and driving. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
I want to be a warm fleece on a cold day.
Football
I want to be a
stadium.
bike that races around the country.
I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack with you inside the Country Financial Studio. My thanks to Rob Moseley joining us via the University of Oregon Alumni Association guest line. And on Tip-Off Tuesday, presented by Carl's Jr., Kelly Graves sat down with Terry Johns, previewing tomorrow's top 11 matchup. Oregon, Arizona, in Tucson, 4 o'clock tip-off on ESPN. And, of course, we'll have the broadcast here with the 3:30 pregame show with Terry Johns and Bev Smith. Kelly Graves talked with Terry Johns about what to expect in this matchup and what's gone right, what's gone wrong for the Ducks as well. Kelly Graves, always his honest self.
All right, Coach, after the weekend in the Bay Area, 9-2, 7-2, and 9-2, that's 11 games. Normally a non-conference schedule, just about the time you'd be starting the conference schedule right now after that many games. But you're in pretty good shape heading into this stretch.
Yeah, we've played some good basketball. We've played some not so good basketball, but like you said, we just didn't really, with all these new players that we have, we didn't really have that luxury of a non-conference schedule to really kind of work things out, roles, playing time, rotations, et cetera. So we've had to do it on the fly during conference play. And as you know, that's difficult because every team in this conference is good. And, but yeah, I kind of like where we're at. I think we're improving. And like I've always said, I think we're, our best basketball's ahead of us. We're going to be a pretty good team down the stretch, I believe.
And you mentioned in the postgame after the California win how happy you were with the transition game, especially against California. You turned them over a lot, but you turned Stanford over more than Stanford gets turned over as well. And that part of the game has been coming around, hasn't it?
I've just wanted to say we're so good in transition that I don't think we're giving ourselves enough opportunities. Now, part of that comes from defense. Part of it comes from just defensive stops, rebounding. And then, this past weekend, we created our own opportunities with some pretty active defense. We've got to continue that. But I've been really asking our guards, especially, to probe instead of just come down and reverse the ball or wait for some kind of a drag screen, to really kind of probe the defense, put some pressure on them, make them collapse, make them shrink. And so that we would have open kickouts. And I thought we did a better job of that this past weekend. Got to keep getting better, but like we've always talked about, just baby steps.
Yeah, Tahina Pau I thought did a great job of that. And sometimes a delayed cutter would come through and you got them and got a basket that way. Got a chance to talk to Tahina yesterday in our player spotlight here for Tip-Off Tuesday. And I think she smiled the whole time. And I know you've talked about it, just what a happy person she is, but what a great young kid and a great basketball player, isn't she?
Amen to all of that. You're spot on. I mean, she's got a great view of life, loves the game, plays with a lot of joy. And, and I think that's infectious, that that style, that way of being, and she's really beloved by her teammates because of that. And then you nailed it. She is a heck of a player, a heck of a talent. The numbers she's putting up rival any, freshman guard that I've had, in my career. And she's solidifying herself as one of the top guards, not just in our conference, but, certainly in the West and across the USA. And just a freshman's going to continue to get better. And so good on her. And we're going to need her to continue to get better as we evolve as a team.
And the team yesterday got back in the top 10 in the AP poll, and also the net that's kind of has replaced the RPI with the NCAA, just one of the tools that they use. You're number 3, we're number 4 last week, but even though with the loss, you're still moved up a notch. Talk about the net. There's similarities to RPI, but there's just more additional information.
I have no idea. I mean, honestly, Terry, I know. I don't. All I can worry about, all that kind of stuff takes care of itself. We lay out a schedule. Our schedule is very tough, as you know. Especially now. Look at what we've played now that Arizona State game is canceled. The next game after that, I believe, is Washington State, who are now in the top 25. So that'll make 4 games out of 5 against teams in the top 25. So I think you just keep playing good teams and you win. Or you look impressive playing, you play good basketball, then, you naturally move up. I mean, that's just kind of, so whether you're using a measurement like the net, the RPI, BPI, whatever the case may be, you just play as well as you can and win games.
All right, you mentioned Arizona State, that game postponed and hopefully get rescheduled at some point. But you got Arizona on Thursday, national television audience on ESPN. I don't know, when I think Arizona, I just go Ari McDonald right now. And she's the one that stirs the drink, isn't she?
She sure is. I mean, they have a lot of talent around her, but she's really what make them go. She's the engine, and to be honest with you, we've struggled trying to guard her over the years, even with those great teams that we've had. So it takes all 5, and like you said, a national TV audience. It's too bad we didn't have or don't have fans, because, they would have sold this game out. There would have been 10,000 plus in that arena. It would have been a great environment. Make no mistake about it. They're going to be coming in with a little something to prove, because they gave one away up at Washington State. One I'm sure they'd love to have back. Some, key plays down the stretch that allowed Washington State to win that game. But we're going to get their absolute best. And when they're at their absolute best, you're going to see a lot of Ari McDonald.
All right, Coach, have a good trip down to Tucson. Take the sunscreen with you, and we'll talk to you after the game. Well, we'll talk to you before the game, I guess, down in Tucson.
All right, Terry. Yep, you got it. All right, buddy.
Take the sunscreen to Tucson. Yeah, why not? Can still go for walks outside for sure. Kelly Graves talking with Terry Johns on Tip-Off Tuesday, presented by Carl's Jr. Today's show brought to you by Shadow Hills Country Club, your family resort just minutes from home. Call for a tour today, and we're going to hear from Tahina Pow, who's been a real standout for the Ducks. Terry Johns got a chance to talk with her. We've got that next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Dear Wallet, you can't stop a new 2021 Toyota no matter the weather. The Camry all-wheel drive comes out to play. Snowy hills don't stand a chance against the RAV4, and everyone will be comfy in the Highlander. See you in the snow. Toyota. Find yours at toyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics, because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Dear Wallet, you can't stop a new 2021 Toyota no matter the weather. The Camry all-wheel drive comes out to play. Snowy hills don't stand a chance against the RAV4, and everyone will be comfy in the Highlander. See you in the snow. Toyota. Find yours at toyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
This is the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Whoa. The moment my son saw a redwood tree.
It's huge!
Is the moment I knew that for him.
You can't even see the top of that
even the sky has no limit.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. Your moment is out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Jill, why don't you tell the class what you did this weekend?
Well, my dad and I went in search of some magical minnows and found a zillion of them in the stream from our lookout rock. Then my sister and I escaped from an evil slug king and went back to my super twig fort for safety. Then we told stories till it got dark, and the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Where were you, Jill?
We went to the forest. It's not that far away.
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union, and today's show brought to you by Crumble Cookies. Come see us in Eugene off of Coburg Road. A ton of different flavors, 120 different flavors that rotate through. On Tip-Off Tuesday, presented by Carl's Jr. yesterday, Tahina Pow Pow sat down with Terry Johns. It was a good conversation getting to know the freshman guard who's always got a smile on her face, Tahina Pow Pow with Terry.
All right, Tahina. Now, from Oceanside, California, I must admit, I knew it was down by San Diego. I had to kind of look it up and kind of realize, geez, it's right down on the beach and palm trees and all of that. So it's just like Oregon, isn't it?
I wish it was like Oregon.
Did you grow up there? Were you born and raised in Oceanside?
I was, yes.
What was that like growing up in Oceanside, California? It's just north of San Diego.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Sunshine every day, great weather. Get to go to the beach a lot, so it's really fun.
So you're a beach goer.
Oh gosh, I love the beach. Absolutely love the beach.
Now, La Jolla Country Day, where you played basketball at, a very famous school, of course, Candace Wiggins and Kelsey Plum, and a well-known coach, and Terry Bamford. Is it Bamford? Bamford.
Bamford.
Bamford. But she's had some pretty good players. Said you may be the best one. How does that make you feel when you hear that, though?
Well, she's been coaching a lot of great players, and being able to hear that is just mind blowing. But I just keep working and keep grinding and become better every day.
How far was your commute to high school from Oceanside? It looks like a little bit of a jaunt.
Just about 30 minutes, but with traffic, it's like 45 minutes.
Yeah, so not too bad. Who are you rooming with here?
Bad, I'm rooming with my siblings. I room with my brother and my sister.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Who's the best cook? Who cooks?
Me.
You're the best
I'm just
one?
kidding. I don't cook. No, my sister is. She cooks a lot. Shrimp Alfredo.
Shrimp Alfredo? Oh my. Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
But yeah, be careful, but you run it off. I don't. So that's because that's not, you get to wear it after a while. You do.
Yeah.
So what do you like to do in your spare time? You got school and it's online, and that's a challenge, certainly a little bit different. You haven't really been able to be a real college student yet.
Yeah, not a real college student, but I usually hang out with the girls, the other freshmen. We hang out a lot. So
just chat? What? TikToks? What do you do?
We do a lot of TikToks. We watch shows sometimes. We just chill and talk. Yep.
Yeah.
Sometimes go out to eat.
What's your, you got a favorite movie, favorite show, Netflix, TV, whatever?
My favorite show is Blacklist. Absolutely love that show.
Why?
On Netflix.
What about it?
It's just super entertaining. I mean, it's like a plot twist every episode.
What about music? What do you like?
I like all types of music, but I have to go to, my roots, island culture, island music.
Yeah. Did you play other sports as you were growing up besides basketball?
I played softball.
Oh, you did?
Didn't really like it. Yeah, I did.
A little slower.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, a lot slower. Did not like the pace of the game, so ended up playing basketball.
So who's been your mentor? I mean, growing up for basketball. I mean, who helped you and said, hey, you're pretty good at this. You got a future.
Definitely my dad. He's been a mentor all my life. He's been there. He's been through it all. And my brothers. My brothers actually, I have 4 brothers. So they're really good at sports. And so when I was growing up, they would like always like challenge me and like, you know, how brothers are. So I can thank them for that.
Now, what, older or younger brothers?
2 older and 3 older, 1 younger.
So you're the only girl?
I have my sister.
Oh, well, of course. Hello. You already said that. I don't remember anybody says. No,
Yeah,
your
that's
sister.
okay.
So your mom and dad, tell us about the rest of your family back home in Oceanside.
You know, they're relaxing, taking one day at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, love them.
Yeah, this pandemic's been a little challenging. They'd probably come
Yeah.
up and watched you play a few times, I would imagine.
They're not really big on traveling.
No.
They like to watch, yeah. So they usually stay home and watch the game on TV.
Now you know, 5-star recruit, McDonald's All-American, Jordan Brand Classic. You would have played in those, by the way. But first of all, let's start there. You didn't get to do those. None of you guys did. You know, disappointing, but you just got to kind of move on from it, don't you?
Yeah, it's just a reminder that life comes first and you got to keep the safety of everyone. And it was unfortunate we weren't able to play, but now we are able to play with your respective colleges. So it's been fun so far.
Why'd you pick Oregon? You could have picked pretty much anywhere, I'm sure. But you picked the Ducks. We're glad you did. You're really good.
Yeah.
And all reports, I get told all the time what a great kid you are. So I call you kid. Sorry. I hope you don't mind.
No, it's all good. Kelly calls us kiddo.
Okay,
So
does he? Okay. Okay. But why'd you pick Oregon? What was it about the Ducks?
Well, I definitely wanted to stay on the West Coast, somewhere close to home, that's far enough. But I picked Oregon because of the winning culture that Coach Graves built and the coaching staff, and their recruiting process is awesome. They treat you like family, and I felt like I could see myself here, and I really enjoyed being here and the recruiting process that I've been through, and it's just been really fun.
When you made your visit, did you get to see a game at home?
No, we got to see practices, but we saw the spring game for football though.
Oh, football. Okay, so you didn't get to see
no, we just saw
12,000 fans at Matthew Knight Arena for a women's heavy.
Yeah, no. I wish I came for a game though. That'd have been really cool to experience that with all the fans, because we don't get fans this year. So.
Yeah, they're hanging in. They're there. I hear from them all the time, and I'm sure you do too. But, they're coming. They're just waiting for the chance to come do that.
Yeah, we are hanging in there too. So.
Yeah, what's it like? I mean, I don't know what's the biggest crowd you ever played against before you came here.
It had to be this regional championship in California when we played against Windward before the state championship that we weren't able to play in. I think that's the biggest crowd I've ever played in.
Yeah, but you don't hear them anyway, do you? Once you get out there, it's tipped off.
Yeah, no, it's
silent. You're playing ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, Uncle Joe. I know I've mentioned it on the broadcast, but that Joe Salavea, one of my favorite people, and one of the football coaches, assistant coach, what is this? The head coach, coordinator. He does the defensive. And in the meantime, he's just an all-around great guy. Polynesian Hall of Fame and all of that. But what's your relationship with him? I know you got to spend a little time with him this summer. How reassuring is it to have somebody like him here in Eugene when you're far away from home?
Oh man, it's amazing. I mean, not a lot of people get this opportunity to have close family with them, and I've been fortunate to have family like them. And we hung a lot this summer. I got to know him better, and he's been through it all, so I've been able to learn from him. And you know, he guided me through college in the freshman year, and that work comes first, and then school comes first, and then work, and then you got to grind through it all. So I've been very blessed to have him.
That's a pretty cool connection, isn't it? Tina Paopau's uncle is Joe Salavea. Get to know her from Tip Off Tuesday. If you missed Tip Off Tuesday, subscribe to the Oregon Sports Network podcast. You can watch it on demand on the Goducks YouTube, Oregon Women's Basketball Facebook, usually the Oregon Men's Basketball Facebook. And we'll tell you a little bit more about the schedule ahead on your Cafe M 2-Minute Drill next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
More Duck Insider coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack inside the Country Financial Studio. We heard from Kelly Graves, Tina Pow, Rob Moseley. Busy show today. And it is, as we've alluded to on your Cafe Yum 2-minute drill, the 10-year anniversary of Matthew Knight Arena. Follow me on Twitter at JoeyMacUO. This morning I put out the Matthew Knight Arena first. The very first time anything happened to Matthew Knight Arena, John Lundquist, our statistician, tracked it. It was awesome. If you're just joining us, men's basketball is on a pause, but women's basketball, 4 o'clock tomorrow. And also on tomorrow's show, former Oregon offensive lineman Ryan Schmid. And also, we have a full preview of women's basketball. And Oregon soccer head coach Graham Abel will be with us. We wrap it up with the Cafe Yum 2-minute drill, cafeyum.com. We'll see you tomorrow.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Ugh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
What are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. It's been a long time since we've had an adventure in the forest.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
You're right. I should get out.
Yeah, the forest is not that far away.
Hey, Mom!
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places